The fix for debanking was written 4 years ago. The banks weren't asked to bank crypto. They were asked to explain themselves, and even that was too much for them. The system has lapped itself. 5 measures, 1 page, still under a draw. Everyone's responsible, everyone's waiting, and nobody is moving. The last video I made went absolutely viral. Over 300 comments in there, thousands of views, and there was plenty of steam coming out of the comment section. And all I want to say is fair fucking enough. This is getting absolutely out of control. The caps, the blocks, the closures, my own letter from ANZ saying they're shutting down my account because it falls out of their risk. If you haven't seen that last episode, the link's in the description. Watch it because it really sets the scene for why this is happening and who's behind it. Today I'm answering the question everyone asked in the comment section. So what actually needs to happen to stop the banks debanking crypto? And here is the painful twist. I don't even need to invent an answer. Nobody does, because the fix already exists. It was designed by Australia's own financial regulators. It was agreed to by the Australian government. It's 5 simple measures that have been written down, published, and they're sitting on the government website right now. The fix for debanking was written 4 years ago. So today isn't a video about what the solution should be. It's a video about a solution that everyone already agreed on and why it's spent the last 4 years sitting in a drawer. Whose job is it to pick it up? And the one event that's coming that forces someone's hand. Before we get into it, I want to let anyone watching know that I fully understand the frustrations around debanking in Australia. Unfortunately, it has forced us crypto investors to jump through hoops that have just been completely unnecessary. I do, however, want to let you know that I do have a very simple solution to it. And if you come and join my live webinar by registering in the link in the description of this video or in the comment section, I will share that with you as part of my wealth protection package. The live webinar is well worth your time. I cover how I'm approaching this next bull market and how I'm preparing right now, as well as I show you real life examples of strategies that I've been sharing with my clients. Register in the link of the description of this video or click on the pinned comment. To understand why nothing has happened, you need to see the shape of what happened, because it's not a straight line, it's actually a circle. October 2021, a Senate committee led by Senator Andrew Bragg runs the first serious inquiry into this. Businesses testify about being debanked with no reason and no appeal. The committee finds debanking is real, widespread, and it recommends the government fix it. The government at the time, and note this was the coalition under Scott Morrison, responds by asking the Council of Financial Regulators for advice. Now, who's that? It's not politicians, it's the grown-ups table for Australian finance. The RBA, whose Governor General chairs it, APRA, ASIC, and the Treasury. And for this job, they even brought in the ACC, AUSTRAC, and Home Affairs. Basically, every single regulator with a stake in the banking system, all in one room, working on the one question. How do we deal with debanking in Australia? And just a little detail to file away for later, which we'll pick up again. From 2022, the Parliamentary committee that oversees the banks and Reserve Bank, the House of Economics Committee, was chaired by Labor MP named Daniel Molino. Remember that name, we're going to come back to it. August 2022, the regulators hand their advice to what is now the Labor government, and they publish it that October. This wasn't just about crypto, by the way. It covered 3 sectors the banks were freezing out: crypto exchanges, fintechs, and remittance businesses, the companies migrant families use to send money back home. Whole categories of lawful Australian businesses, the same problem applied. And what did the regulators recommend? This is the part that should really make you angry because of how small and simple it is. Measure 1. If a bank debanks you, it has to write down its reasons. That's it. An internal record. Right now, that doesn't even exist. And I've got proof right in my hand that it doesn't, as the only reason that I was given for shutting down my business account at ANZ is the nature of my activities falls outside their risk. That's it. No follow-up, no procedure, no ability for me to put in a case, just close down for being outside their risk. That's it. And that takes us to measure 2. The banks actually have to tell you the reason, not terms and conditions, not commercial decision, the actual reason your account is being closed. Measure 3, and to be honest, they're mostly applying this anyway, but they need to provide 30 days of notice minimum to make sure that other arrangements can be made. Remember Binance, they only got 12 hours and I got a letter with a date and an explanation on it. I did actually get about 30 days. Measure 4, a right to dispute it internally and through the Financial Complaints Authority. Right now, there is literally no way to appeal. Ask anyone, and you're speaking to me right now, there is no way for me to appeal the close down of this bank account. I literally just have to go and bank with someone else and hope I don't get debanked by them. Finally, measure 5, self-certification. Let a business formally certify its compliance program to the bank so the bank can assess its individual circumstances instead of a blanket policy just banning an entire industry. Look at that list again. None of it forces a bank to take a crypto customer. None of it removes a bank's right to manage risk. It's write it down, say it to my face, and give me a month and let me actually appeal it. Let me prove myself someone who's never done anything wrong in my entire life, and let me plead my case that I am more than worthy of being able to be banked with you. The banks weren't asked to bank crypto. They were asked to explain themselves, and even that was too much for them. June 2023, the now Labor government publishes its formal response. It recognises the seriousness of debanking. It agrees with the recommendations, some fully, some in principle. Both sides of politics have now owned this. The coalition commissioned the fix, Labor agreed with it. This is literally as bipartisan as Australian policy gets. But there's one sentence in that response that you need to hear, because it's the escape hatch for everything that came after. The government said that it would balance support for affected businesses while, quote, acknowledging banks are commercial enterprises and must manage their own risk and resources. Read that carefully. In the same document where the government agrees debanking is a serious problem, it pre-excuses the banks for doing it. Every block deposit and closed account since 2023 has lived inside that one sentence. And then nothing. No bill, no regulation, not one of the 5 measures has been put into law. And the banks, they could have just adopted those voluntarily. Instead, this is the exact period the restrictions got worse. The $10,000 caps, the default blocks, the sell only on ETF from CommSec. Which brings us to February this year. A new parliamentary inquiry, the House of Economics Committee under Ed Husic, looking at payments. And who files a submission? Coinbase, a $100 billion listed company on the NASDAQ, telling Parliament that debanking is now a systemic feature of the Australian financial system. And they named the big 4 banks, and they asked for the exact same 5 measures as before. The ones the regulators designed in 2022, the ones the government agreed to in 2023, and have been sitting in the top drawer collecting dust ever since. Hence why it's not a straight line, it's a circle. The system has lapped itself. Parliament investigated, the government asked the experts answered, the government agreed, and nothing happened. And now Parliament is investigating again. And the industry is standing in front of a second committee asking for the answer the first process already produced. That's not a policy, it's not debate anymore, that's a loop, and loops don't break themselves. Now, the standard defense of the banks goes like this. Our hands are tied, the money laundering rules are brutal, scams are too high, and the penalties are enormous. And the penalties part, well, fair enough, they are. CBA did pay $700 million in 2018, and Westpac paid $1.3 billion in 2020, the 2 biggest corporate penalties ever paid. I covered this in the last video. Fear is real and it's rational. But here's what breaks the excuse. AUSTRAC, the actual regulator handing those penalties out, has said repetitively and publicly on the record for years, the law does not require banks to close those accounts. It does not support the wholesale debanking of an entire industry, and the blanket debanking can actually increase money laundering by pushing activities into shadow where nobody can see it. Sit with the shape of that. The banks say they blanket ban crypto because of AUSTRAC. AUSTRAC says don't blanket ban crypto. Both things are on public record at the same time. So when the bank tells you it's a regulatory obligation that forced them to close the account, well, the regulator actually disagrees. What's actually happening is a lot simpler. Blanket bans are cheaper than doing the work of assessing a business one by one. The 5 measures would force banks to show their reasoning case by case in writing, and a reason that has to be written down has to survive being read. That's the real cost they're avoiding, not compliance, it's accountability. 5 measures, 1 page, still under a drawer. So whose job is it to break the loop? This is where it gets specific, because unlike most stories like this, every player has a name. Player 1, Ed Husick. He chairs the House of Economics Committee that's running the current inquiry. His committee heard the regulators and the major banks in Canberra on the 24th of February, and from the crypto and payments industry the day after. Both sides of the story testified in the same room a day apart, and it's all on the parliamentary record. It's his move to table the committee's report. There's no deadline for that, so it lands when it lands. And I'll be straight with you about something, because you came here for the facts. Debanking is not the headline of that inquiry. The inquiry is mostly about card surcharges, payment costs, and digital wallets, and the importance of stablecoin and stablecoin support. So there is a real chance the final report gives debanking a paragraph instead of a chapter. However, debanking is raised multiple times throughout that hearing, and almost all speakers addressed it. So before you write the whole inquiry off, you need to hear what actually got said in that room. Here is the most important part of the committee hearing.
In terms of market forces driving debanking, that is real. And to the Kraken representative's point, we recommend that the government legislate these Council of Financial Regulator recommendations as binding requirements on the banks and consider a right to basic banking services.
All right, let that land. That's the country boss of Coinbase, a NASDAQ-listed company under parliamentary privilege, telling the committee that debanking is driven by banks and it's real. And it's making 2 asks. 1, take those regulator recommendations, the same 5 measures from 2022, and legislate them as binding requirements on the banks. Not voluntary, binding. And 2, and this is the escalation, consider a right to basic banking services. That's the protection that Europe already has. Access to a bank account is a right, it's not a privilege. The Big Four hand out based on their own interests. That's the protection that Europe already has. Access to a bank account is a right, it's not a privilege that the Big Four get to hand out based on their own interests. So the fix isn't just sitting in a drawer anymore. It has now been formally requested in that room on the parliamentary record, with the bank's own representatives having testified the day before. Which means when the report finally lands, silence is no longer an option that the committee can pretend was an oversight. Player 2 in all this, Daniel Molino. Assistant Treasurer and Minister for Financial Services. He owns debanking policy, payments, and digital assets. If the 5 measure ever becomes a law, it's his bill. Once Husick's report is tabled, the government must respond within 6 months by convention. And here's the detail that I told you to file away. Before he was the minister, Molino spent 3 years, 2022 to 2025, chairing the very committee now running this inquiry. The committee that oversees the banks and the Reserve Bank. During the exact years, the 5 measures sat unimplemented. So here's my question, and it's a genuine one. Is there anyone in Canberra better placed to know this problem and to fix it? And if he doesn't, what does that tell you? Player 3, Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer. Payment system reform is his agenda, and this inquiry was his referral. And a Treasury wrote the 2023 response that agreed with the fixes. The buck for agreed but never legislated stops at his portfolio. Player 4, the Big Four banks themselves. Here's the part that almost nobody is loud enough about. None of the 5 measures needs a law. CBA, Westpac, ANZ, and NAB could adopt all of them tomorrow voluntarily with a press release. The Big Four banks can literally adopt the measures voluntarily. Yes, it'll be a little bit of a cost to them, but a lot of Australian people would have an enormous amount of respect for this, and I applaud the big banks to do that. Let's see if we can make enough noise about it. On that note, please leave a comment in the comment section if you have been debanked. I'm collecting a whole labyrinth of these stories, and I'm going to make as much noise as I possibly can about it to ensure that this gets heard. And player 5, AUSTRAC. They've already made their move, and honestly, it's been on the record against blanket debanking the entire time. The regulator everyone hides behind is the one player who's actually been saying the right thing. Everyone's responsible, everyone's waiting, and nobody is moving. All right, that's the whole story of debanking in Australia in one picture. It's not that nobody can act, it's that everybody can. Each is just waiting for someone else to go first. And there's no penalty for waiting. So what actually needs to happen? Well, there are 3 paths out of the loop. Watch which one moves first. Path 1. The report lands with teeth. Hughes's committee tables its report and recommends action on debanking. The clock starts. Within 6 months, the government must respond. And Molino either puts the 5 measures into a bill or he writes down in an official government document why he won't. Either way, for the first time in 4 years, someone has to commit ink. Path 2, the report goes quiet. The committee reports on surcharges and wallets and stablecoins, and it gives debanking a polite paragraph. No recommendation, no clock, no bill. And I want you to understand what that would mean. After a Senate inquiry, after the regulators designed the fix, after the government agreed to it, after Coinbase put it back on the table under parliamentary privilege, after the banks testified in that room, silence would not be neutral. Silence would be a system answering the question, not we can't, we won't. Path 3, nobody in Canberra moves and the problem dies of old age anyway. Because here's the quiet ending almost nobody's watching. The new anti-money laundering regime already treats exchanges like financial institutions. The travel rule is live as of this month, and from April next year, under the digital asset framework, crypto platforms become licensed financial service businesses under ASIC, the same legal family as the banks themselves. At that point, the blanket policy from banks of outside of our risk of appetite doesn't really make the mark. You can't call a licensed ASIC supervised AUSTRAC registered financial services business too risky to give a bank account to, whilst banking every other licensed financial service business in the country. The excuse doesn't get repealed, it just runs out. All right, bit of inspiration there. Hopefully we don't have to go as far as this. My honest read, path 3 is the default and path 2 is the risk. And path 1, well, that's the test. The report is the next forced move, the next time anyone in that chain of 5 has to show their hand. And whichever way it goes, you'll hear about it here first because I'll be covering that report the day that it drops. The fix for debanking was written 4 years ago. 5 measures, 1 page, everyone agreed. The only question left is who picks it up first. And now you know exactly whose hands it's in. All right, so here's what I want from you. In the comment section, which path do you think happens? 1, 2, or 3? And if you've been debanked or blocked or capped, keep the stories coming because they're becoming a record that no committee can pretend not to see. Subscribe with the bell on. The interviews coming to this channel over the next few weeks put everything from this video directly to the people living it. I'm getting Jeff Yu onto the channel. He is the one who launched Monochrome's ETF, IBTC, and is incredibly experienced in the space. He was also an original founder of Binance Australia and the former CEO of it. I'm also getting Bisha from Stormrake. He runs a massive brokerage business in Australia, and he's seen firsthand how difficult it is for clients to deposit onto his exchange. He's got some huge numbers that he's going to share with us. And finally, getting a Minister of Parliament onto the channel. I'm actively looking to get one of the ministers that I mentioned in this video today onto the channel to at least answer some of these questions and give us some insight of what is going to happen to stop this debanking. Of course, I will respect them 100% and really give them a chance to speak directly to so many people who have been suffering these issues over the last years. All right, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave your comment in there, subscribe to the channel. I've got Jeff Yu, I've got Bishop from Stormrake coming on, and hopefully that Minister of Parliament. I'll see you guys in the next one.